The question is, why are we discussing human rights and atheism in particular? Why not Buddhism, Hinduism, or something else? Well, it's because atheists posit themselves as champions of human rights, as if there's something within the atheistic worldview which is going to make you more likely to be moral and ethical and believe in human rights. Now, going back to the Declaration of Independence, here's what it says. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men were created equal and they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that amongst them are life, liberty and pursuit of happiness. So it's clear that the people who put together the idea of human rights, they believed in God, they believed these rights to be true, to be self-evident, and these were not to be changed. So these didn't come from a secular worldview. So my first premise is this. Atheism leads to moral nihilism. Secondly, moral nihilism undermines human rights. And the conclusion is atheism undermines human rights.
And as was mentioned earlier, it was Christianity which provided Western civilization with that answer to the question, what is the meaning of life? But as is well known, the role Christianity played in the Western world began to falter in the 16th and 17th centuries. And it was the ascendancy of science which was primarily responsible for this decline in adherence to Christian dogma. Nietzsche used the phrase God is dead to symbolize the loss of faith in the two-world theory of Christianity, and understood that with this loss of faith, a crisis regarding the meaning of life was inevitable. If one looks back to the beginning of the scientific revolution, it is obvious that science and nihilism go hand in hand. This idea is captured by a quote from the modern Nobel Prize-winning physicist Steven Weinberg, who stated that the more the universe seems comprehensible, the more it seems pointless. But when one comes to deny an absolute or objective basis for value, truth, or meaning, it becomes very difficult not to slip into nihilism. We can, in fact, distinguish between four main types of nihilism, all of which share a similar characteristic, that being a general attitude of denial or negation of meaning. Nietzsche, in his book The Gay Science, reiterates the idea that science and the meaninglessness of life go hand in hand. He wrote, "A scientific interpretation of the world, as you understand, might therefore still be one of the most stupid of all possible interpretations of the world, meaning that it would be one of the poorest in meaning. A theory espoused by the philosopher Giordano Bruno in the late 16th century has been pointed to as one of the early scientific seeds of nihilism, and it is a good example of the way in which scientific theories degraded the meaning that people found in religious worldviews."
Moral nihilism is a view that there are no moral facts. It is a metaphysical claim, a claim about what is there as an aspect of reality. Thus being a view that metaphysically denies the existence of morality. It is not epistemological, which pertain to that of knowledge. So then, a moral nihilist may hold that killing kittens is not morally wrong, but nor is it right, as morals simply do not exist, because morality does not exist as an aspect of reality, so right and wrong do not exist.
Some atheist authors like Yuval Noah Harari in Sapiens, he admits this and he says, look, there are no gods in the universe, no nations, no money, no human rights, no laws and no justice outside the common imagination of human beings. Because according to him, all we have are organs. We don't actually have rights. So birds have not the right to fly, they have wings, that's why they fly, and some birds, because of mutations, they can't fly like ostriches. So he rewrites the American Declaration of Independence in the following way: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men evolve differently, that they were born with certain mutable characteristics, and that among these are life and the pursuit of pleasure.
When you make a value judgment, don't you immediately step yourself outside of this evolutionary process and say there is the reason this is good is because it's good, and you don't have any way to stand on that statement?
But my value judgment itself could come from my evolutionary past, and I suppose
so. Therefore, it's just as random in a sense as any product of evolution.
Well, you could say that, but it doesn't. In any case, nothing about it makes it more probable that there is anything supernatural.
Okay, but ultimately, your belief that rape is wrong is as arbitrary as the fact that we've evolved 5 fingers rather than 6. I mean,
you could say that, yeah.
Yeah.